Ever wonder what it takes to work with explosives?
No.
I mean, it's not your typical 9 to 5 we're talking about. Today, we're doing a deep dive into the career of a nitrator operator.
Oh, that's a job title most people probably haven't heard of.
Right, but it's actually way more crucial than you might think.
Definitely. And luckily for us, RoleCatcher.com has a ton of info on it.
Perfect. So no more suspense. What does a nitrator operator actually do? What's their average day like?
All right, so picture this. You're in a chemical plant, right? Surrounded by all this specialized equipment. Your job is to use that equipment to turn chemicals into explosives.
Whoa. Okay. That's already intense.
Yeah, it'll definitely get your attention. But it's not just about the boom, you know? It's a very careful process.
So they're not just pushing buttons.
No. They monitor and control every reaction to make sure it stays safe.
I see.
Think of it like a recipe, but with way higher stakes. Like even a small mistake could be a huge problem.
Oh, absolutely.
And then on top of that, you handle the storage.
Oh, right. Because you can't just leave explosives anywhere.
Exactly. You're responsible for making sure they're stored in the right conditions so they're stable.
I bet. That sounds like a lot of responsibility.
Oh, it definitely is. Not a job for just anyone.
What kind of person would thrive in that kind of role?
Well, according to RoleCatcher, it's for people who actually enjoy hands-on work, who can handle the pressure, and who are really, really good with details.
So not your typical 9 to 5 desk job.
Nope, not even close. We're talking long hours on your feet, sometimes working with heavy equipment, maybe even irregular shifts.
Wow. Okay. But I'm guessing there are some perks too, right?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Good salary. The demand is really high for qualified people, and there's a lot of opportunity to specialize.
Okay, so say someone is listening and they're thinking, this is me, this is the job I've been waiting for. What should they know going in? Like, what does it take to become a nitrator operator?
Well, that's where it gets really interesting. You might think you need a chemistry degree, right? But RoleCatcher says a high school diploma is often all you need to get started.
Really? I would not have guessed that.
Right. But there's a catch. You need experience. Practical knowledge of chemical processing, a deep understanding of safety protocols. You gotta have a history of being responsible.
Yeah, I mean, you're dealing with seriously dangerous materials.
Exactly. And RoleCatcher actually lists out all the specific skills you need.
Like what?
Well, you need to know how to operate the equipment, of course. You've got to understand technical manuals, have strong reading comprehension, but then there's the critical thinking, the coordination.
You got to think on your feet.
Yes. Make split-second decisions, adapt to changing conditions, and stay calm under pressure.
Wow, so it's technical know-how, quick thinking, and nerves of steel. Intense.
Yeah.
So we left off talking about all the skills you need to be a nitrator operator. But let's say you've got those skills. You've even had some hand-on experience. What's the actual career path look like? Like, can you work your way up?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the things RoleCatcher lays out really well. They actually outline the typical career trajectory, which is super helpful if you're thinking about going this route.
Okay, so break it down for us. What are the different stages of this explosive career?
Well, most people start as assistant operators.
Makes sense.
You're basically learning the ropes from experienced operators. Getting comfortable with the equipment, making sure you really understand the safety protocols.
So like an apprenticeship almost.
Yeah, exactly. You're kind of like a sponge, soaking up everything you can, getting ready to run the show someday.
Okay, so you've put in your time as an assistant. What's next? What's the next step up?
Well, once you've proven yourself and you really know the operation inside and out, you'll probably move up to operating the equipment on your own.
I see.
And that's where all that critical thinking, all those decisions we talked about, that's where it gets real. You're the one who's monitoring those chemical reactions, making sure the final product is up to standard. And of course, you're the one responsible for safety.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
It is, but it's also really rewarding, especially for the right kind of person.
Right. It's like going from apprentice to, master craftsman. You're not just following instructions anymore.
Right.
You're the one making sure everything runs smoothly and safely.
Exactly. And the career path doesn't end there. Once you've really mastered the actual nitration process, that's when you can move into more senior roles.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, you could lead a whole team of operators. You could be analyzing production data to see how to make things more efficient.
Interesting.
You could even end up training new operators, bring them up to speed.
Wow. So there's a real leadership aspect to this too.
Yeah. The more experience you have, the more expertise you build, the more valuable you become to a company.
Makes sense.
And you might even specialize.
Oh, wow. In what way?
You could focus on a specific aspect of explosives manufacturing, maybe research and development or quality control. Some people even focus on safety management.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of career. There are different paths you can take.
Right.
This is really cool. We always hear about these traditional career paths, but this is something completely different. It's hands-on, it's technical, the stakes are high, and there's a clear way to move up and even specialize.
Right. And it's a field that's only going to keep growing. RoleCatcher actually talks about how industries are only going to rely on explosives more.
Oh, I bet.
Mining, construction, demolition, they all need explosive, which means they'll always need nitrator operators.
So not just a cool job, but good job security too.
Exactly. And that demand, it shows up in the salary too. RoleCatcher actually mentions that as well.
Nice. Okay, so let's say someone is listening and they're totally sold. They're like, sign me up, where do I start? Does RoleCatcher have any advice for breaking into this booming field?
They do. And it's something we've been talking about already. Internships, just getting your foot in the door, even if it's just shadowing an experienced nitrator operator, that's incredibly valuable.
Shows you're serious about the work.
Exactly. It shows you're willing to learn. And speaking of pressure, let's talk about those job interviews.
Oh, yeah. I bet those are a little more intense than your average job interview. So we're back. And you know what? This whole nitrator operator thing, it's kind of growing on me.
Right.
It's like a chemist, an engineer, and a safety inspector all in one.
Yeah, it's a pretty unique combo. And speaking of unique, those job interviews, RoleCatcher actually gives you some examples of what they might ask you.
Oh, really?
And let me tell you, they are not messing around.
Okay, now you have to give me an example. What kind of question are we talking about here?
Okay, so picture this. You're sitting there in the interview, and they ask you, describe a time you had to troubleshoot an issue during the nitration process.
Oh, wow.
They don't want some textbook answer. They want to know you can handle pressure.
Yeah, that makes sense. You have to be able to think on your feet. Like, what happens if the temperature suddenly spikes? Or a pressure gauge goes haywire?
Exactly. They need to see those problem-solving skills. And then, of course, there's safety.
Oh, right, of course.
So they might ask something like, how would you make sure you and everyone else stays safe around these chemicals?
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
Huge. And it's not just about, like, general safety stuff.
Right.
They might even get super specific, like, walk me through your experience with operating a continuous nitrator.
Ah, so that's where the hands-on experience comes in.
Big time. If you had an internship, that's going to give you a real edge.
You got to walk the walk, not just talk about it.
Exactly. And the cool thing is RoleCatcher actually gives you example answers.
Oh, nice.
And advice on how to structure your responses, which is super helpful.
Yeah, job interviews are always nerve-wracking,
Mm-hmm.
especially for something like this.
Totally. So yeah, RoleCatcher really goes above and beyond.
It's like having a career coach right in your pocket.
Yeah.
Well, we've covered a ton today. The day-to-day, the skills you need, even what to expect in an interview. For you, what was the most surprising thing we learned about nitrator operators?
You know, for me, it's that balance they have to strike between precision and being able to adapt.
How so?
Well, on the one hand, you're dealing with these super precise reactions.
Right, everything has to be exact.
But then on the other hand, things can change in a split second, and you got to roll with the punches.
Make those judgment calls.
Keep everyone safe. It's a trip.
Yeah, that's a cool way to put it. It's not every day you find a job that needs you to be both meticulous and a quick thinker.
Yeah.
So we've talked about the challenges. What about the rewards? Besides, the paycheck, what makes this kind of career fulfilling?
For me, I think it comes down to purpose. People hear explosives and they think, danger, but they're essential.
That's true, actually.
We need them to build stuff, to get resources, even for scientific research.
Right.
And as a nitrator operator, you're a part of all that. You're making sure those explosives are produced safely, effectively. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it puts things in a whole new light. It's more than just, explosions.
Exactly. There's a whole ripple effect.
It's a career that takes a lot, that's for sure.
Definitely.
You need a certain set of skills. You got to be dedicated to safety.
Yeah.
Maybe even a little bit brave.
Yeah.
But you can really make a difference. That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's those unexpected paths, Those are the ones that lead to the most interesting places. Big thanks to RoleCatcher.com for showing us this whole other world. And to everyone listening, if you want a job that's anything but ordinary, one that challenges you, that has good rewards, maybe even gives you some stories to tell, working with explosives might be your thing.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This has been an awesome deep dive into the world of nitrator operators. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and as always, thanks for diving in with us.